The headline is this: radar screens at Newark Airport went black again overnight. And just before 4 a.m. this morning, air traffic control radar screens went black, just totally, completely dead for about 90 seconds, leaving air traffic controllers completely in the dark again. Because remember, this is the second time in just 2 weeks that air traffic controllers at Newark lost their only tool for preventing plane crashes. And this, of course, comes on the heels of a series of aviation disasters and near misses during the first 100 days of the Trump administration. I mean, less than 4 months into the Trump's term, we're still less than 4 months. We also find ourselves in the middle of one of the worst measles outbreaks in this country since we eradicated measles more than 25 years ago. But we're now in a huge outbreak. And while we're at it, take a look at some of those headlines about what we can all expect from Trump's tariff policies. A lot of those are telling us how much costs are going to go up and what that's all going to mean for all of us. So we're just 109 days into this term. There is a growing public health crisis. People are afraid to fly. Things are going up to going to cost more. We can all expect that. All because of the policies of the guy sitting in the Oval Office. This is all self-inflicted stuff, everyone. Now, no president wants to admit failure or take responsibility for the bad stuff, no matter who they are, Democratic or Republican, whether they caused it or not. But it's still an important part of the job. It's still an important part of leadership. And it's one that American presidents, Democratic presidents, Republican presidents have understood and accepted, that ultimately the buck stops with them.
The president, whoever he is, has to decide. He can't pass the buck to anybody.
The buck stops here.
I do believe that the buck stops here.
It stops with me. I am the one who is ultimately accountable to the American people.
For ultimately, the buck stops with me.
The buck stops with me. Of course it does, because you're the most powerful person in the world. You're the president of the United States. Unless, of course, your name is Donald J. Trump. I mean, he made that perfectly clear back during his first term.
The buck stops with everybody.
For Donald Trump, the buck stops with everybody. I mean, that was back when he was trying to duck responsibility for the 2019 government shutdown. That's when he made those comments. I'm not actually sure what he means when he says the buck stops with literally everybody. I mean, does everybody include me? Does it include you? Does it include everybody who has ever sat in the Oval Office? It's basically his opportunity or his effort to share the blame it on anyone. And it turns out he has a pretty generous interpretation of who exactly is responsible for what happens on his watch.
I think the good parts are the Trump economy and the bad parts are the Biden economy, because he's done a terrible job.
The good parts of the economy, yep, that was all me. The bad parts of the economy, the looming recession sparked by the tariffs I put in place, the negative growth, the rising costs projected because of the shortage of goods, that was the other guy. You know, the one who I inherited a booming economy from, including the lowest unemployment rate and the highest economic growth for an incoming president in 25 years. Yeah, that other guy. It's all his fault. There was also the growing number of concerns about air safety. Now, on that, as I mentioned, those have been on the rise. Trump, of course, says that it's all Joe Biden's fault, too. Also, apparently, Pete Buttigieg. I mean, throw him in for good measure. I guess the two of them have been, I don't know, secretly advising Elon Musk to massively cut the FAA, to fire the vice chair of the NTSB, and to put a 90s reality TV star in charge of the transportation department. I'm sure that's what Joe Biden and Pete Buttigieg have been up to. And then there are the parts of his job that he has just decided to completely shrug off, like it has nothing to do with it.
Is your administration sending migrants to Libya?
I don't know. You'll have to ask Homeland Security.
Is anyone in your administration right now in contact with El Salvador about returning Abrego Garcia to the United States?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the Attorney General that question.
What's your expectation for your meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister tomorrow?
I don't know. He's coming to see me. I'm not sure what he wants to see me about.
You just announced a new nominee for the U.S. Surgeon General who never finished her residency and is not a practicing physician. So can you explain why you picked her to be America's top doctor?
Because Bobby really thought she was great. I don't know her.
Have you been briefed about the soldiers in Lithuania who are missing?
No, I haven't.
A tariff exemption for certain baby items like car seats is under consideration. Will you exempt some products that families rely on?
I don't know. I'll think about it. I don't know. I really don't.
Don't you need to uphold the Constitution of the United States as president?
I don't know.
I mean, He doesn't know a lot. Deportations, that's up to DHS. When we deport someone by mistake, that's the Attorney General's jam, not my problem. The Surgeon General, Bobby Kennedy seems to like him. Tariffs, due process, the Constitution. I don't know. And the president's basically saying it's up to anyone else but him to set policy or solve problems in the country that he was elected to lead. Just today, he suggested that with tariffs, his defining policy that has upended the economy, he's going to go hands off on that one from now on. He says it's up to Scott B, as he calls him, which I guess is his pet name for the Treasury Secretary. Not really sure. Good luck. Clean up on aisle 7 for poor Scott B. He said the same today about potential tax increases, admitting he wants nothing to do with it. He's leaving it up to Republicans in the House to solve that political headache on his behalf. This may sound like an incredibly obvious point. It kind of is. It's not a good thing for the country to have a president who seems entirely uninterested in actually being the president. He's not the only one, though, who appears to be phoning it in. Just take a look at what members of his cabinet, the people he has selected to advise him and surround him, have been up to. There's one particular report, NBC's Ken Dilanian reported today, about how Trump's handpicked FBI director, Kash Patel, is also taking his hands off the wheel when it comes to actually being the FBI director. I mean, before Patel took over the FBI, the Bureau used to hold briefings for the head of the agency every morning at 8:30 a.m. I mean, for good reason. The FBI director oversees all of the law enforcement in the country. There's never a shortage of things to be briefed on. They could probably be briefed all day long about everything happening. Dozens, if not hundreds, of FBI intel officials compile these briefings overnight, often in order to ensure that the FBI director and other members of the national security team are fully up to speed on every single development. But Kash Patel has decided to basically take a pass on these daily briefings, it seems. Instead, he's decided that he really only needs that briefing 2 days a week. Again, this is compiled by many people in the administration, intelligence officials and others, to make sure the person overseeing law enforcement knows what's happening. And when he does show up, Patel seems kind of bored, according to Dilanian's piece. Here's what it says. The two current FBI officials telling NBC News that Patel sometimes seemed uninterested in the material, and his intelligence briefers are struggling to craft a briefing that captures his attention. So sorry you're bored, FBI director, I guess. I mean, the FBI director's daily brief contains some of the most sensitive information in the world about the country and threats it's facing. But maybe Patel would prefer pictures or cliff notes or something else. I'm not sure. PowerPoint. Other officials told NBC News that the reason for the scheduling change is because Patel kept showing up late. Maybe he's tired from all the trips he's taking. I mean, since becoming FBI director, and this is in part in Dilanian's reporting as well, Patel has been to Nashville 3 times to visit his girlfriend, twice to Las Vegas, where he has a house, and also to New York so he could watch a hockey game, one of many sporting events, by the way, he's attended. All of those flights taken on the taxpayer's dime. One longtime associate of Kash Patel tried defending him, saying, quote, "I've known Kash for a long time. The only thing he's doing late into the night is going to the gym." I mean, if that's the best defender you can get, I'm not sure. I'm not sure that's as reassuring as that friend thinks it is. Now, all of this may explain why the FBI director was apparently too busy to turn in his budget request on time before testifying yesterday.
When will we get it?
I'll get you an answer, ma'am. I don't have a timeline on that.
It was due last week by law.
I understand.
And your answer is you just understand. You're not going to follow the law?
My answer is that I am following the law, and I'm working with my interagency partners to do this and get you the budget that you are required to have.
And you have no timeline?
No, I'm not going to
Well,
make
how
up a
do
timeline.
we as Congress do our budget and our work without that request and without the spend plan?
Well, ma'am, I'm here. I'm
don't
doing the
care.
best I can.
I mean, he's doing the best he can. It's a budget. It's a budget document she's asking for. It's due at the same time every year, pretty much. Is he really doing the best he can? We're going to have Ken Dilanian here live to talk about his big scoop coming up, so you will want to stick around for that. He's got more details. We'll talk about more of it. But Kash Patel is also not the only cabinet official who seems to be distracted from their job responsibilities. There's also the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, who seems more worried about his public profile than doing his actual job. I mean, according to a former Pentagon official, he spends a full 50% of his time trying to flesh out leakers from his own department. This is the guy who was supposed to be overseeing the largest military in the world, 50% of his time fleshing out Uyghurs. And then there's the Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, who seems more interested in dressing up in costumes, I guess, than in actually doing her job. There's some of the examples there. I mean, why is she dressed up like a firefighter? I don't know the answer to that question. But here's the point. Governing is not a photo op. It's a complicated and hard and often quite literally life or death situation for the people who live in this country. And I don't know why members of this cabinet seem uninterested in doing their jobs or uninterested in leading the agencies that they were nominated and confirmed to lead. I don't know if the president is just pretending to not know how the Constitution works or if he really has no idea. But I do know that both are bad. And that's important to keep reminding ourselves that neither is normal.